There's something wrong with the new girl. Her name is Reina Kisaragi, and she arrived at Hoshinoka Academy last month. Our school's isolated, buried deep in the mountains, surrounded by thick forests that never seem to end. It's the kind of place that always feels a little haunted. But Reina, she brings something else. Something worse. She's beautiful, but not in the normal way. Not even in a way that makes sense. Her presence warps people. Girls who used to hate each other now claw at each other's throats over a chance to sit with her at lunch. Boys trip over themselves, stammering and trembling like their minds are unraveling just being near her. And then there's the other thing. I found an old yearbook in the library. Hoshinoka Academy's been around for decades, and this one was from 40 years ago. Faded, yellowed pages, names and faces of students long gone. But near the end, in a grainy black and white class photo, there she was, Reina, smiling. Same face, same long, inky black hair. Not a single difference. It was impossible. But I wasn't the only one who noticed. There's 4 of us in the dorm room that night. Me, Hiro, Aoi, and Satoshi. Our school has strict rules, but we gathered in my room, sitting cross-legged on the floor, staring at the old yearbook. Aoi spoke first, her voice hushed. It has to be a coincidence. Satoshi shakes his head. That's not a coincidence. It's her. Hiro, normally the loudest among us, is dead silent. His fingers trace over Reina's face in the old photo. We should ask her, he murmurs. Ayo shivers. Are you crazy? I mean, it's weird, right? Hiro ignores her. Does she have an older sister? A grandmother? Maybe we're just... It's her. Satoshi's voice is tight. He looks pale, and he's sweating. His fingers tremble as he flips another page, revealing more photos. Reina, again, in different years, with different students. Decades of her. Unchanged, unaging, always smiling. We don't sleep much that night. By morning, Hiro seems to have forgotten the entire thing, dismissing it as a joke. Aoi wants to throw the yearbook away, but I keep it hidden. I can't let it go. I need to understand. At breakfast, Reina's sitting at her usual spot near the window. She's surrounded by students, all leaning in, whispering, hanging off her every word. She notices me looking, and smiles. Not like in the photos, though. This time, it feels different. Like she knows. And then, later that day, something else happens. Hiro, who had spent the most time staring at her photo last night, stops talking to us. He won't look at us. He won't answer us. Instead, he starts following Reina around. Silent and obsessed. Like she's the only thing that matters. Like the rest of us no longer exist. Hiro's gone. Not physically. He still sleeps in our dorm, still sits in class, but he's not here anymore. He only has eyes for Reina. At first, it was subtle. A seat change in the dining hall, lingering stares, a mindless nod when she spoke. But within days, he stopped acknowledging the rest of us altogether. We tried confronting him. Aren't we friends? Satoshi had snapped, grabbing Hiro's arm. She's messing with your head. Hiro just laughed. Not his usual laugh. Not loud, not obnoxious. This one was empty. Like he didn't even know us anymore. That was 3 days ago. We haven't spoken since. But last night, I woke up to a sound. Something wet. Something dripping. When I turned, I saw Hiro sitting upright in his bed, his eyes open, unblinking, with a smile stretched too wide on his face. His nose was bleeding. Thick, dark drops slid down his chin, staining his sheets. He just sat there, staring at nothing, like he was listening to something only he could hear. And then, his lips parted. I think I love her. Satoshi refuses to sleep in our room anymore. I don't blame him. I'm telling you, it's spreading, he hisses, pacing the hallway. She's fucking doing something to him. First Hiro, now... He stops. He doesn't have to say it. Aoi's changing too. Not like Hiro. She doesn't follow Reina around like a dog, but she defends her now. Constantly. Anytime you mention the yearbook, Reina's effect on Hiro, or any of the things we saw, Aoi just brushes it off. You guys are just paranoid. She sighs, rolling her eyes. She's nice. Maybe you should actually talk to her. Still, she pulls me aside when she's not around. She was with us that night, he whispers. She saw the photo. She knew something was wrong. I don't say it out loud, but I know exactly what he was implying. She's already too close. Soon, she'll be just like Hiro. I talk to Reina. I don't want to, but I have to. Satoshi's getting more paranoid by the day, and how he's slipping further away. If I don't figure this out now, I'm next. So, after dinner, I approach her. She's standing by the window again, watching the snowfall outside. Students drift past, casting long glances, too scared to speak to her first. But when I step forward, she already knows I'm there. You've been watching me. Her voice is soft, sweet. Up close, she's even more perfect than I realized. Like a painting. Too flawless to be real. I swallow hard. I found a photo of you. Reina tilts her head. Oh, it's old. Decades old. But you look exactly the same. She smiles, and then she leans in, her breath warm against my ear. I've always been here. Something inside me shatters. My stomach twists, my skin crawls, my head pounds. I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be near her. I stagger back. Reina just watches me, smiling, as if she already knows what's about to happen to me. That night, I dream of her. I'm standing in the forest barefoot in the snow, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I don't know how I got here, but she's there, Reina, waiting for me. Her eyes glow gold in the moonlight, her smile's too wide, her teeth too sharp. I should run, but I can't. I take a step forward, then another. A voice slithers into my skull, warm and sticky, like honey and rot. You love me, don't you? I try to speak, try to say no, but my mouth won't move. Instead, I sink to my knees, my fingers twitch. I need to touch her. I jolt awake, my pillow's wet with blood, my nose is bleeding. Just like Hiro, I can still hear a voice in my skull, whispering, curling around my thoughts like a parasite. And the worst part, you love me, don't you? And the worst part, somewhere deep inside me, a part of me wants to say yes. I can hear her voice even when I'm awake now. Soft, sweet, dripping with warmth, wrapping around my thoughts like silken thorns. She whispers my name. She asks me if I love her. And every time, it gets harder to say no. Aoi's gone. Not like Hiro. She didn't turn into one of them. She didn't start following Reina around like a shadow. She disappeared. Her bed was empty when I woke up. Her shoes were still by the door. Her coat was still on the hanger. The teachers didn't even acknowledge her absence. When I asked about her in class, they just stared at me, confused. Like she had never been here at all. Like she had never existed. But I remember. And so does Satoshi. But that means we're next. The yearbook wasn't enough. The photos weren't enough. Even the whispers of other missing students buried deep in old records weren't enough. So Satoshi and I do something stupid. We break into the headmaster's office. It's past midnight. The halls are silent. The air thick and heavy, like the school itself is watching us. We dig through locked drawers, old files, faded records, and then we find it. A black and white photo from 1956. A classroom. Students lined up in neat rows, smiling faces. And Reina, not in the front, not posing. She's standing in the very back, partially hidden behind another student. Like she wasn't supposed to be there. But the longer I look, the more I realize she's in every class photo. Every single one. From the very first year Hoshinoka Academy was built. The school isn't just old. It was built around her. Satoshi flips through more files, his hand shaking. Then he stops. The student roster, he whispers. There's a page missing. He holds up the old registry. The paper is torn out, ripped clean from the book. But the edges are stained, and when I look closer, my stomach twists. The stain isn't ink. It's blood. Satoshi's breathing quickens. What if she was never a student? His voice is barely a breath now. What if she was never supposed to be here? I think about the photos, how she always lingered in the background, how she never seems to belong to any specific class, how her face never changes. And then, the office door creaks open. A girl stands in the doorway, smiling. Her golden eyes glint like candlelight. It's Reina. My mind twists, my body locks up. Satoshi screams, but I barely hear him. Because now, standing in the dim light of the headmaster's office, I finally understand. I finally see. Reina's beauty's unnatural, because she isn't real. Not in the way we are. Her body flickers like a signal struggling to stay connected. Her smile stretches too wide, her teeth gleaming like shards of glass. And behind her, something moves. Something wet. Something many-limbed and writhing, as if she isn't a girl at all, but a thing trying to be one. She tilts her head the same way she did when I first spoke to her. Do you love me? Her voice is wrong now. Too many layers. Too many echoes. I can feel something crawling inside my skull, like hands wrapping around my brain, forcing me to say yes. My lips part. No! It's Satoshi. He grabs my arm, yanking me back to reality. And then we run. We tear through the halls, our footsteps slamming against the wooden floors, the walls seeming to close in around us. She doesn't chase us. She doesn't have to. Her voice is already inside our heads. I don't know how we got outside. The school looms behind us. I wake up in the snow. I don't know how we got outside. The school looms behind us, its windows dark and empty. Satoshi's on the ground, his breath coming in ragged gasps. I touch my face. My nose is bleeding again. My skull feels cracked open, thoughts unraveling like thread. But the voice is quiet now. She let us go. But why? And then I realize Satoshi and I are the only ones left. No students, no teachers, no Hiro, no Aoi, just us. And deep inside the school, through the tallest window, I see her, smiling, waiting, because she knows no one ever really leaves her. Not completely, not forever. She'll always be here, and so will we.